welcome to our very first lecture proper in software requirements analysis. This video is about overview to our subject matter requirements analysis. After watching this video, you will learn the definition of requirements analysis in the field of software development. You will be able to identify some of the important types of software requirements in software development. You will be able to recognize the qualities of a good requirements and understand the role of requirements analysis in software engineering. And lastly, I will give you some updates regarding the changes of our course outline. Requirements analysis is one of the most important and critical activities in software development. Unrecognized requirements defects in early phases of the development would cause great waste of development efforts in the later phases of the development. And as a consequence, the cost of fixing such requirement defects is very high, meaning the support for requirements analysis is very crucial. Let us proceed by defining what is requirements analysis. According to our reference, requirements analysis involves defining customer needs and objectives in the context of planned customer use, environments, and identified system characteristics to determine requirements for system functions. Meaning, requirements analysis is an activity in software engineering that identifies to understand the business need and objectives of the customer, allowing us to determine the functions of the software that will address the need of the customer to achieve their objectives. Requirements analysis is conducted with functional analysis iteratively to optimize the requirements for an identified functions and to verify that the synthesized solution will satisfy the customer needs. To understand further the process of requirements analysis, let us identify the inputs to the process. The inputs to the process includes the customer requirements and project constraints. Requirements are the statement of the problems coming from the customer that needs to be solved. Constraints are conditions that exist because of the limitations imposed by the external interfaces, project support technology, or life cycle support system. Constraints bound the development team's design opportunities. Another inputs to requirements analysis are enablers. Example for enablers are the development team themselves or tools or techniques that can be used to analyze the requirements. An example for constraints are limitations like internet connection or limited funds to develop the software. Let us identify some of the important types of requirements beginning with customer requirements. Customer requirements are usually coming from customer themselves that defines their needs and objectives. Next is functional requirements. Functional requirements are usually determined during requirements analysis from the customer requirements that will address the needs and objectives of the customer. Next is architectural requirements. Architectural requirements defines the architecture that matches the functional requirements. Next is behavioral requirements. Behavioral requirements is part of functional requirements, defines the behavior of the software for a certain scenario of a specific function. Next is non-functional requirements. Non-functional requirements is also called as supplementary requirements, which is an extension of functional requirements. Next is structural requirements. Structural requirements are part of architectural requirements that defines the structure of the software. Next is performance requirements. Performance requirements is part of non-functional requirements that defines how well the software is going to perform. Next is design requirements. Design requirements defines the approach that is going to be implemented for a specific function. Derived requirements are requirements that are derived from other similar requirements. Next is allocated requirements. Allocated requirements are requirements that are sliced from high-level requirements to a set of low-level requirements. In the next lecture, I will talk about more on details of these types of software requirements and other requirements. For now, it's important that you understand the transformation of the requirements from other requirements and their relationship to each other. In the process of requirements analysis, it's important for us to recognize the qualities of a good requirements, allowing us to minimize the conflicts and issues of the requirements. Some of the qualities of a good requirements are as follows. First, a requirement must be achievable, meaning the requirement should be achievable based from the technical capacity of the developers, technologies, or the funding of the customers. Next is the requirement should be verifiable, meaning the requirement should be testable enough to verify that the function is addressing the needs of the customer. Next is a requirement must be unambiguous, meaning it has to be specific. It should have one meaning in order for the developers to understand it well. Next, it must be expressed in terms of need, not solution. The requirement should not be suggesting the solution, but rather expressing the needs of the customer. Next, it must be consistent with other requirements. The conflicts of the requirement should be addressed upfront before development. Next, it must be appropriate for the level of system of hierarchy, meaning the requirement should not have too much detail. One of the ambiguous issues of requirements analysis is its role in software engineering, especially with requirements engineering. Let us define the role of requirements analysis in software engineering. Requirements analysis is part of global requirements engineering process. It is used in detecting and collecting the stakeholders' requirements that are important for developing the information system or software system. Meaning, requirements analysis is part of requirements engineering, and requirements engineering is part of software engineering that defines the function that the system will provide and its constraints. I hope that gives you an overview on our subject matter requirements analysis. Before we end this video, I would like to give you some updates regarding the changes of our course outline. In the next video, we will be discussing in details the different types of requirements. And we will also be removing the traditional requirements elicitation techniques in order for us to focus on agile methods of doing requirements analysis. If you have questions or clarifications, please let us know in the comment section below. And do not forget to subscribe and click the notification bell for more videos.